Uh-oh. Here comes trouble.
Hey, what's up? This is Tom Segura, and you're listening to Izzy Rock on the Tales from the Hard Side podcast.
Hey, this is Brendan Walsh, and you're listening to Izzy Rock on Tales from the Hard Side.
We're here with my man Izzy motherfucking Rock, so pay attention. Told you by Mad Flavor. So, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
These are tales from the hard side, painted so vivid, kicking real life stories, not woven or knitted. Izzy Rock brings that rawness to all who listen, dropping heavy knowledge, and sharing some wisdom. Going down that rough road only makes you tougher. It's a beautiful struggle, sometimes we suffer. Let the people know you aren't in this alone. This talk is deep, it cuts down to the bone. No fakeness here, this as real as it gets. Hazardous on the mic, kick it live and direct. Spread that vibe everywhere, all across the globe. The idea's real simple, there's no secret code. Reach out to the people, spread that positive energy, cause we're all looking for a little bit of serenity. Whatever little part of this planet you live in, these tales from the hard side are now transmitting. Tales from the hard side.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 261 of the Tales from the Hard Side podcast, being released on Sunday, February 26th, 2017. I have some different parts of this episode. I'm going to have my buddy Q-Ball. He left a voicemail, so I'll play that a little bit later and go over my week a little bit later. But we got Gym City Comic-Con coming up on April 1st. We're doing a live Gym City podcast to celebrate 400 episodes. We're releasing on March 31st, 400th episode. So Saturday, April 1st in Panel Room A at the Dayton Convention Center in Dayton, Ohio for Gym City Comic-Con. We're going to do a live Gym City podcast. And then at 1 o'clock, if you guys are into podcast, you want to start your own podcast, you just have questions for local podcasters, we're going to have a podcast Q&A where it's a podcast panel of local podcasters, and I'm going to host it. And I came up and visited my fellow podcasting brother from the We Don't Have Cookies podcast, Jason Marshall. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. How you doing?
I'm good, dude.
It's good to be on the show.
Yeah, man. I should have had you on way sooner than this. And I've done Skype podcasts, and I've been recording with my sons, but I love sitting down with fellow podcasters to have conversations.
Because I do Skype podcasts every so often.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I enjoy the people that I've had on, but it's nowhere close to the energy that you get when you're sitting in the room looking at the person in their eyes, you know?
Yeah.
It's a lot better like this.
I used to do a lot of Skype podcasts, and I haven't done any for like a year. My sons are getting older, and I just started having conversations with them. And for me, my podcast has always been about just the archive of my own life. And so whatever's going on in my life, I'm going to cover it and talk about it, whether it's the shows I'm into, the movies I'm into, shows I go see. So if I'm into comedy for a period of time, like I was early when I started this, I talked a lot about stand-up comedy, had comedians on. And because I'm into promoting the Dayton, Ohio music scene and Dayton area and podcast now, I've really had a goal set to get to this point now. Everything's running pretty smoothly of how we release, producing. And so now to try and provide a way for other podcasters to come and showcase themselves to people at Gym City Comic-Con. I think it's important to help each other out and build a local podcast community. And I really wish I had more time to promote and listen to other shows, or that I even like to promote and be on social media and push stuff out there. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I'm like, man, I don't want to see myself on social media. Like you got off of Facebook, and I want to talk about that a little bit, actually. Okay. The idea to get off of Facebook for a little bit is one that a lot of my friends have chosen to do for their mental health, because it makes them depressed, it makes them hate their family and friends and neighbors, and it makes them really look at the people around them and like you insulate yourself.
Well, it's a cyclone of emotions because, for one, in the political climate that we're in now, I don't want to have that in my life every day.
Mm-hmm.
And Facebook is a choice.
Yes.
So why would I choose to put myself in that situation?
Yeah.
But if you take that away from what we're going through now, you take all the politics aside, I've thought about this for a while. because you get on there and it's just this whirlpool of emotions.
Yep.
Somebody just got a promotion at work. They're now the unit manager at somewhere. And then somebody else's childhood cat just died and they're really depressed. And then there's this, hey, I just had spaghetti for dinner. And there's so many levels to it. It messes with your head.
Yeah.
And then you're so accessible to people that it's almost not right.
Yeah. No, I understand.
Thankfully, the person I'm talking about won't hear this, but I was working on my house one day and I get a message on Facebook and I thought, well, that's odd. This person has never messaged me before. Well, actually, that's not true. She messaged me to tell my dad happy birthday. She's an older lady. The message was, hey, I'm sorry to hear about your grandma. Oh. And I thought, we can cuss on this, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I thought, what the fuck happened to my grandma? And so I read more and yeah, my grandma's dead. And I just find out from some lady who's, friends with my dad's sister. Oh. And I hadn't talked to my dad. I hadn't talked to anybody. I didn't know what was going on. I knew she was in bad health, so it wasn't the shock of shocks, but I mean, she was 93.
But you don't want to hear something like that from a message from somebody who's not family.
Right. And that was one of the points where I thought, you know what is going on?
Yeah,
where this is how I'm being approached. And she was just doing it to be a good friend.
Yeah.
I didn't get upset with her. I got upset with the situation though.
Yeah.
And that's when it really started to make me wonder, why am I on this?
Yeah. No, man, I've definitely, I'm addicted. Like, I find myself having certain addictions throughout my life. And I've had addictions to spend money on needless shit, whether it's collecting Blu-rays or DVDs or CDs or like shit that I'm like,
with you.
I've had 3 different copies of 3 different, I've had the tape, the CD, the MP3. Now I'm paying for Apple Music and I can listen to whatever. Like, I've had addictions with food. And for me, social media, especially Facebook, I'm always interested, like, what's going on? What's being said? Yeah. Like, there's times where it's healthy and times where it's not. And I've definitely had balance with social media where I was obsessed with MySpace. I was obsessed with Twitter. I was obsessed with Facebook and putting my opinion out there. And even podcasts, to put my thoughts out there. I always love the fact that we have the ability to put out our thoughts, whatever it is. And some people will be like, don't post any food pics. Dude, I love food pics. Mm-hmm. I love to look at what people are making for food because it might inspire me to make something else. And I believe that today, right now, you have the greatest generation of cooks ever made because of social media, because people know how to make recipes. They know how to cook. There's a lot of people who don't. They just get fast food and stuff like that. But there's a lot of people who they love to cook their own meals because of social media. So
that's a good point, yeah.
So for me, Facebook is this schizophrenic thing of politics, sports, of all my interest and my friends' interest. And I've accumulated friends from various different communities. I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. So over the years, I've collected tons of friends who are Tampa Bay Bucks fans. And when it's not football season, they're talking about politics. They're talking about all sorts of things that maybe I don't agree with, but I stay open-minded to what they're saying. I've coached and I've been part of the community I live in, so I'm friends with all those people. The podcast community, like I have little pockets of communities that I see and I've been friends with over the period of time, that you collect all these friends over the years that you find interest in. And I know some people aren't that way. Some people get like 24 friends and they're perfect with that. They don't venture out and explore. But man, I'm a social butterfly, but I'm also a type person who loves solitude.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there because I grew up living out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So you grew up, grew up in, we're at your house.
Yeah.
You grew up in this area?
Yeah, this was the house that I lived in.
Shit, dude.
And a weird fact is when I was a kid, we live on about 6 acres or so. And there's a creek on the other side of the driveway. And I used to tell my dad when I was a kid that I was going to buy that half from him when I had the money. And years later, I forget how old, I think I was 21 because I felt, I'm not saying everybody needs to feel this way or I look down on anybody who doesn't, But I felt like I was too old to live at home with my mom. So I was just going to leave. And my mom said, she basically laughed in my face and said, "Where are you going to go?" And I said, "I don't know. I'm going to figure it out." I put a bunch of shit in my car, and I lived in my car till I figured it out.
What?
And
you lived in your car?
Yeah, it was only, I don't know. Depends who you are when I say it was only, but it was only like a few months.
That's that's a long time.
Yeah, but it was summertime, so that helped a lot.
Like,
trust me, that helped a lot.
Wow, so you made the decision, I'm going to just be on my own and live in my car. What kind of car did you have?
I had a gray, I can't tell you the year, but I know it was a Beretta.
Fuck,
and
dude.
the funny part about that was it had burgundy interior.
Mm-hmm.
When I took the sheets and the blanket and stuff off my bed, it matched the interior of my car.
So people didn't know that you were in there.
So if you walked by my car and you saw me sleeping in the back, you'd be like, "Look at that bum."
Yeah.
And then your next thought was, well, at least he's got a little class. I mean, everything matches.
Where would you park?
I would just park wherever I could, just off the side of the road. I would try to park in somewhat populated areas, and then it would be kind of a mishmash. There were times where I'd just park out in the country because I was kind of used to being out here. And there were times where I had a drinking problem and I would just pull over and pass out. So it wasn't much different. Then there were other times where I'd just pull into like a Walmart parking lot and just go to sleep because who the fuck cares? You're in Walmart. No, they just figure you're sitting in the car waiting for somebody.
Yeah.
Unless there's somebody who pushes carts and then they think that you're a drunk that passed out and not a homeless guy.
Dude, what do you think about those people who get the vans and they deck them out to basically have RVs? You know, you can't take RVs everywhere. A lot of people don't want RVs parked in their parking lots or their neighborhoods. So a lot of people get these vans and they deck them out, and it's #van life, where they're driving around the country living out of their vans.
That's a cool idea. I wish I had something like that when I was living in mine, because it would have made life a lot easier.
It would, right? Yeah, I have a coworker. He's a 23-year-old, and he is obsessed with traveling. Like, he wants to travel the world. And obviously, when you're young like that, you have your youth, you have your energy, you're vibrant, but you don't have the cash. Unless you're a trust fund kid, you don't have the cash to be able to make your dreams happen oftentimes.
Yeah.
And to drop out of your work and to just pack it up and just drive wherever. There's a lot of people who that's utopia for them.
I would have definitely done that when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing some kind of documentary on HBO about these people who lived in New York City. And what they would do is just go around scavenging dumpsters and shit like that. And the kind of person I was, I'm like, that's the life for me.
Yeah.
I need to get my ass to New York and start finding food in dumpsters. That sounds mentally ill right now. But it sounded badass in the way I wanted to live at the time.
Dude,
because there's a lot of people, if they're living in their car, they're going to feel like they hit rock bottom.
Yeah. That's how I would feel. Oh, that was me.
Was it?
Yeah, my ass is moving in the chair.
That scared the shit out of me, dude.
That's a ghost house.
I've had so many ghost stories in the last year that I legit thought maybe there was some kind of poltergeist about to burst out.
It's built on an Indian burial ground.
But it was the most free I've ever felt in my entire life.
I bet.
I felt like some wild stallion out on a plane, man. I mean, I could go anywhere I wanted. I could do anything I wanted.
Yeah.
At the time, this is going to contradict everything I just said. But at the time, I was holding down 3 jobs and I was going to college.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't have to be anywhere.
Yeah.
Nobody was worried if I didn't come home.
Right.
I didn't have anybody telling me I had to come home.
Yeah.
Or being upset that I came home drunk.
Yeah.
And things like that. So it was perfect. And at the time I was taking a lot of acid, and that helped.
That always helps.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
That makes life more colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So And this isn't going to be a long episode with Jason. In fact, I'm going to cut it off here in just a minute. So if you want to check out his podcast, We Don't Have Cookies, check it out, subscribe to it, listen to it. He releases episodes all the time, and he has all different kinds of guests. But he will be at Gym City Comic-Con with us on the podcast panel answering questions. Where did you get the name for your podcast?
What I did was I was trying to find a name for it because I had a podcast before this one, and it just didn't fit with how I felt anymore. It's called the Anger Mismanagement Show, and it was just me pissed off, bitching about stuff, but trying to be funny about it.
Yeah,
and it's hard to be pissed off and funny sometimes.
Yeah.
So I knew I had to go another direction, and the hardest part for me was coming up with a name. So I just sat on my bed one night, and whatever name I thought of, I would write it down. And I came up with about 40 names, and I would look and see if the domain was available, and that knocked off maybe 20.
Yeah.
And then I narrowed it down to the list of about 10 that I liked the most, and I texted all my friends, hey, what do you think about these names? What 3 do you like the best? When they would text me back, I just took whatever, got the most votes, and that's what it was.
What were some of the other choices?
Oh, man. To be honest, I can't think of any of them, right? One was one where I was going to be the guest, and people were going to basically be the host every week and talk to me. And oddly enough, some way more famous comedian who I can't think of the name of ended up doing that show.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Parallel thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One was Jason and Stuff.
That's a cool one.
And, I did an episode, I think it was my 1-year anniversary episode, where I actually had the list in front of me, and I read them all from one to the other.
So, Tales from the Hard Side was what I started with. Now I've been wanting to transition to something else. But I love, we talked about it, I love patterns. I love, like, the numbering of episodes. And to get to 261 episodes and then to start doing something totally different, I would want it to be a different setup. So I've been bouncing it around, maybe at episode 300, just transitioning to like the Izzy Rock Show or something like that.
Yeah.
Because Tales from the Hard Side is a lot of syllables, and most people, when you say it, they're like, "What? What is that?" So there may be a transition at some point, but who knows? I go with the flow and do whatever. But dude, I want to thank you for having me out. Guys, check out the episode next week. I'll have it on the podcast feed. I'll do a little intro, and then I'll have the podcast attached. But definitely go subscribe to his podcast. We Don't Have Cookies. It's a great name.
And if you Google it, I'm the only thing that really comes up that's called We Don't Have Cookies,
it's
because
great.
no one else has that name. That's the other good thing. It's a little wordy, but you're not going to find anything else in the Google search to confuse it with.
And he has comedians on, a lot of comedians, and I think comedians really add to a podcast because they're generally curious people. They're funny people usually. They have good conversations, and you have a guest named Mama Cat that is a recurring guest that is one of my favorite people to listen to.
Yeah, she's a good lady.
She's wise. She's funny. She's a stand-up comic.
I think she's transitioning out of that. She's kind of like, well, I don't want to put myself in her league, but I think she's finishing up with that. But she's sort of like me, where this is a lot easier. Yeah. More people listen.
Yeah, stand-up comedy is tough.
Yeah, you don't have some drunk telling you to shut up or anything.
Did you enjoy your experience of getting up on stage?
I enjoyed the creative part of coming up with material, and when it went well, I enjoyed it. But everything leading up, I got way too nervous. I have a lot of anxiety.
Yeah,
and stand-up comedy isn't conducive to somebody with anxiety, even though a lot of people who do stand-up comedy suffer from anxiety. They're gluttons for punishment.
Oh, yeah.
Gluttons. And I knew that this isn't good for my health, and I just sort of stepped away because, this is a lot easier fit for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you got wife and kids and things like that, I mean, I don't know too many people. There are people out there, but I don't know too many people who do stand-up comedy with the thought of not making it. Everybody wants to. And when you got a wife and kids, man,
dude, as a fan and as somebody who's listening to comedians, the reason I wouldn't even try it at this point is because of the time and dedication it takes to do it. Mm-hmm. And so for me, you know, the respect I have for the craft itself, like I could pull together a band and just play, if I wanted to, learn how to play and play locally if I wanted to, knowing that I wouldn't make it big. So there is a place for people to do stand-up where they're not going to be famous.
Yeah, because there's not a lot, because deep down they still want to, but there are some people where it really is just therapy. They just want to get up there. They want to make people laugh because hearing that makes them feel better.
Yeah.
Then they go home and they go to their day job with no real aspirations of, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for them, it's probably like, I'm not going to put the effort into doing it, or maybe deep down inside they know I probably wouldn't make it. And then, like for me, podcasting is that way. I have a job that pays the bills, and this is my hobby, and I put a lot of time into my hobby, and I enjoy it. But I look at it as the lottery. Like maybe one day I'll make some money. Maybe I'll have a job from this at some point. But for now, I'm going to not hold my dream onto that and be realistic. And
you don't want to collect toy trains and then go out and drive one for a
exactly. Yeah, it's like, you know, it would be fun to get paid to do this, but then would it become a job and not be fun anymore?
Yeah. You know, I've started looking more at, I don't know how to say it and make it come out right, but more of a business. Where I think, well, this person's coming up. How do they fit into something that we can make more of this?
Yeah.
And trying to build on things as they go, and trying to think, well, what does my last guest have that could tie into the next person, and kind of create a little more momentum.
Yeah. See, yeah, I love that idea. And I love that people people have ideas and they turn them into money makers and things like that. Man, I've always been more creative than I have been able to turn that, you know, what I enjoy into making money. And I do take the safe route and have a job that I've had for 20-something years that pays the bills. I go home with zero stress. I don't take work home with me. And I'm by myself for hours at a time listening to podcasts and music and things like that. So,
and just to clarify something real quick, which I don't think anybody wants clarity to, what I say, I look at it more as a business. I mean that from the listener's perspective than mine, because I don't, hopefully I'll make a living off of this someday. I don't know if I ever will, but I try to make it that way to the benefit of the people listening.
Yeah, man.
So it seems more professional than just me bullshitting.
Your show definitely does. Like when I listen to it and you have segments and you have a certain structure that, as somebody who edits and produces, that stuff takes time to plan out, and it takes time to think about and research and look up what you look up and schedule guests. And dude, trust me, what you do as far as quality of audio, how you put the show together, it's legitimately a good show to listen to. It's comedy, so if you want to listen to it and you're not going to be too depressed about the subject matter, you're probably going to laugh at some of the stuff and go, I can relate to that.
I hope so.
I think having local podcasts like yourself is fantastic. So you guys check out the podcast next week. I'll release it every single Sunday. At the end of this I'm going to do a voicemail and go over some stuff after I leave and say goodbye to Jason. I might do stuff on the way home. I don't know. But check it out. I have some music at the end of this. And Jason, do you have any last words? Where can people find you?
You can go to wedon'thavecookies.com, and on the website there's a bio page where you can see everybody who's involved with the show. And I also have an archive section where you can listen to every episode we've ever done. I appreciate everybody who wants to check it out, and thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate it. Oh, and Jason Marshall, too, on Twitter. I used to never use Twitter, and then I went to Pittsburgh, where you're going to be going soon, and I just sat in my hotel room tweeting. And then when I came back, I haven't tweeted so much, but, you know, I'm there, too, if anybody wants to check it out.
I enjoyed it. I used to really get into it back in 2010, 2011, 2012. I was obsessed with Twitter and met a lot of cool people through there.
I've had some guests and some people who do segments on the show just because of Twitter.
Dude, you can find some really interesting people on Twitter, and everybody loves to talk about themselves. So to have somebody on, like, that's the cool thing about Twitter is finding, like, you're like, these people are interesting. I wonder if they want to do a podcast. And most people will be like, yeah, especially if they're trying to promote themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the different guests you have on, the different people, I appreciate that. So
I know you're trying to wind this up, but did you hear the Excel spreadsheet guy?
Love it, dude.
That
Love
dude
it.
blew me away. I wasn't sure how it was going to go because until that episode,
Yeah.
never talked to the guy.
Yeah.
I just knew one thing about him, and it was he made a viral video.
Yeah.
One of the nicest dudes, man, and very supportive of the show. And if he's listening to this, I want to give a shout out to Hunter Hobbs. Thanks for being on the show, man. It was awesome. I think it was 3-4 weeks ago. I'm still talking about the guy.
Yeah, somebody like himself. See, that's what I'm talking about. The dedication it takes to sit and go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to the bottom of this Excel spreadsheet, and I'm going to finish it. No matter how long it takes, I'm going to record a video. Like, that takes determination and to have a goal, no matter how silly it is, maybe. Maybe it is silly, maybe not. But the fact that he did it, it's one of those things where you look and go, I give a nod to my cap, like, fuck yeah, dude. You go. Hell yeah.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't do it. But there's some shit that I've done where people are like, dude, I could never do that.
Oh, yeah.
So, everybody's always comparing themselves to what other people are doing. But yeah, dude, your guest, I dig it. Keep going.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate
man. And this won't be the last time Jason is a guest, and I appreciate what he's
I don't
doing
know
for the
about that.
local community. He's like, I don't know if I want to be back on. Well, thanks, man.
Hey, thank you. And I hope I am on again, man. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate
Fuck yeah,
it.
dude. Fuck yeah.
Thanks for listening. Tell your friends about the show and leave a review.
What is going on?